Hi guys, today's video is going to be my November wrap-up. I'm sorry this video is really late. I've actually been quite ill for the past week, which you can probably hear on my voice. I literally lost my voice on Sunday. I had to only communicate with weird hand movements and whispers. So I'm glad to have my voice back so that I can finally make a video. So the first book that I managed to finish in the month of November was Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare, the first book in the Infernal Devices series. If you've never heard about this book, it is about a girl called Tessa who moves from America to London to find her older brother. She quickly gets sucked into this underworld where there are vampires and werewolves and all kinds of creatures. I have to say I did really like the concept of this book, though I had to give it a 2 out of 5 stars. It just wasn't for me. I don't think I like vampires and werewolves and things like that anymore. I think I've kind of grown out of that. I really liked Cassandra Clare's writing, but I didn't think that the characters were very good at all. I didn't like them, and I thought the plot was quite predictable. So yeah, not my favourite. I will be continuing the series though, because I bought the other two, so I'm gonna read them eventually. The second book that I managed to finish in the month of November was Wonder by R.J. Palacio. I'm not going to talk too much about this because I did a full review on it and I'm going to link that in the down bar. But this is a book about bullying and I absolutely loved it. It was amazing. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. Something that almost all of these books that are in this wrap-up have in common is that they've been sitting on my shelf for literally years. And here's one that I purchased, I think, 2 years ago? Yeah, and that is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I finally picked this up this month and I'm so happy I did. This is a wonderful coming of age story about a boy called Charlie. It follows his freshman year of high school and it was just such a wonderful story. I love Charlie. I didn't quite like the ending. I thought it was a bit too open, so I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. After reading a bit of contemporary, I decided to pick up the final book in the Maze Runner trilogy, The Death Cure by James Dashner. I was very disappointed by this. Well, I don't know if you can say disappointed if you know it's going to be bad. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not good. I just didn't think that it brought anything new to the series. I thought it dragged a lot. It was just not very interesting, which was really disappointing because I loved the second book in the trilogy. And obviously the main problem is that you don't get enough questions answered. I'm going to read the prequel eventually and I'll get back to you if the questions are answered in that one. 3 out of 5 stars. After The Death Cure, which I struggled a bit with, I wanted to pick up something light, something that I'd read rather quickly, so I decided to pick up Say What You Will by Cammy McGovern. This is about a boy called Matthew and a girl called Amy. Amy has CP or cerebral palsy and Matthew has OCD. It follows these two as they become friends and spend more and more time together. I really like this book. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. I really like the way that Cammy McGovern talks about issues that are kind of taboo, I guess, like mental illness and disabilities. And I thought she did that really, really well. I have to say that I connected more with Matthew as a character because I do have anxiety myself. But I also thought that Amy was a beautifully crafted character and she was very, very realistic. The only problem I really had with this book was that I thought it repeated itself sometimes. There would be a certain event that happened where the characters were like, where you could clearly tell that the characters got something from it, and then there would be a similar event where they kind of got the same thing from that. Maybe this could have been like 50 to 100 pages shorter. If you watched my November TBR, you'll know that I didn't really know what to read this month, and I only had one book that I knew I wanted to read, and that was Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens, and I managed to read it, which was amazing. I hadn't read any Dickens for like a year and a half, which was a bit embarrassing as Dickens is probably my favourite author. I wanted to read Oliver Twist because it's probably his most famous work. Oliver Twist is a young boy who ends up living with these robbers, and it basically follows him as he deals with this situation. That was a bad explanation. Anyway, this was a really good book. It is Dickens, obviously. I love Dickens and I was going to really like this, though I was a bit disappointed and I knew I would. It wasn't Dickens to the fullest, I thought, which I think can be explained by that this is one of his earlier works and also that it is meant for a young adult audience. It just didn't have as much of the metaphors and messages that I think is the most wonderful thing about Dickens' writing. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I managed to read in November was a short story collection, and that was My True Love Gave to Me, edited by Stephanie Perkins. I actually did a full review on this book, and I'll link that in the down bar. I really liked it. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. I've been trying to read 2 classics a month, and after reading Oliver Twist, I just wanted something that was a bit easier to read, something that was a bit shorter perhaps. And in honour of Kurt Vonnegut's birthday in November, I decided to pick up Slaughterhouse-Five. This is an anti-war novel about a man called Billy Pilgrim, and the narrator, who is Kurt Vonnegut, tells you about his life basically. This is a really interesting read, though I didn't enjoy it as much as I'd hoped. I really liked the message of the story, but I didn't think that it was that enjoyable to read, so I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. The final book that I managed to read in November was Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. I really wanted to get to this in November, and I'm so happy that I did because it's such a wonderful book. It was quite a personal read for me, so it was kind of weird to read it, but I really loved all of the characters, and it's so funny. I mean, Greg is hilarious. I have to say that his humour is basically my humour. I thought it was really good, so I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully in the next one I won't be as ill. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.